Hello and welcome. Today what I'm going to do is I am going to share something with you that I ran into today. A real beautiful gem of a devotion. Before I get started, I'd like to ask you, how many times do you go to Yeshua? How many times do you get on your knees when you have a problem? How many times do you go straight to man when you have a problem? Straight to your trusted friend, straight to your mother, father, sister, brother, lover, wife, husband. How many times do we go to anyone else other than our Redeemer? How many of us say we go straight to our knees when we really don't? And how many of us oppress our emotions instead of dealing with situations? And I'm not just talking about sadness. I'm not just talking about anger. I'm talking physical pain. I'm talking about anything good and bad. Well, today's devotion is about that. We go to humans that are flawed instead of our Creator, or we'll say we gave it to our Creator while still being oppressed. I'm looking for my glasses. I really hope that I can read. You know what? I'm going to read it without my glasses. I'll just zoom in. Okay, so let's get started. This is called His by creation and redemption. Thy hands have fashioned me and made me. Psalm 119:17. Let us take in the idea and that of the privilege that we have. We actually have a privilege. He bought us. It's a privilege to be bought from slavery, to be delivered from slavery unto his redemption by his blood, right? It is a privilege. We don't deserve this. There are so many who, when they are in trouble, fall into temptation to lose their bearings. They forget the invitation. You know the invitation, come to me, that God has abundantly given, and begin to look at the plan for human help. So you start to look and plan for human help because you're in bondage to the help of a human. Yes, the Lord, Yahweh uses one another to deliver, to move forward, but we are not to be each other's crutches. We're supposed to lift each other up and move forward. We are to be trusted, but we're not to be trusting. Cursed is the man that trusts in man. But if Christ be in us, we are trustworthy because it is him and not ourselves. Let's remember that. They forget the invitations God has abundantly given and begin to look and plan for human help. They go to human beings for aid, and this is the way in which their experience becomes feeble and confused. In all our trials, we are directed to seek the Lord. In all our trials, the Lord most earnestly, remembering that we are his property. Remember, we are bought with a price. We are his children by adoption. No human being can understand our necessities as Christ. We shall receive help if we ask him in faith. We are his by creation. He created us. Remember, he is our creator. Think how solemn that is? We are his by creation. We are his by redemption. By the cords of his divine love, we are bound to the source of all power and strength. Remember, he is the source of all power and strength. So he is the source of power. He is the source of life. So you have life giving you life, and you veer away from him. What happens? You're cutting yourself away because he's there. He's the source of life, away from the source of life. Then comes spiritual death. And it comes because we are looking to ourselves, we're looking to someone else, and within ourselves we see that are longing for him by the cords of his divine love, and we are bound to the source of all power and strength. If we will only make God our dependence, ask him for what we want, as a little child asks his father for what he wants, we shall obtain a rich experience. No, it's more experience more than head knowledge. We shall learn that God is the source of all strength and power, not some. If you ask, if when you ask, you do not immediately feel a special exercise of feeling, do not think that your prayers are not answered. The one who says, ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asks receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth. The one that says all this, knock and the door shall be opened, he will hear, and he will what? He will answer you. He will answer you. Let then his word be your trust. His word, let it be your trust. Ask and seek, and have the privilege of finding. That's a privilege. If you seek, you find. Christ has encouraged you. He says, come unto me all, not some, that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, the yoke of restraint and obedience. Learn of me, for I am meek and lowly at heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. We are to find rest. We are to find rest in him. We are to find rest by wearing his yoke and bearing his burdens. That is the statutes preventing us from turning to our own ways. In being co-workers with Christ, excuse me, in the great work for which he gave his life. He gave his life for this. I'm going to repeat this. In being co-workers with Christ in the great work which he gave his life, we shall find true rest. When we were sinners, he gave his life for us. Remember, while you were still sinners, God died for the ungodly. So that's who he died for, the ungodly. He wants us to come to him and learn of him. Thus, we are to find rest. He says he will give us rest. Then do not lay your burdens upon any human being. Remember, he says, learn of me. When he used to pray to the Father and he left his disciples, he went flat on his face and prayed in humility. He didn't do it before men. Look how holy he is. Look how separated he is. He's flat on the floor. No, he went and he communicated with his Father. If he needs it that much, and he is the one, how much more do we need to be connected to our source of life? How much more? It says, so we learn of him, and we have an example in him. When he came as a man, we are to live as he lived, knowing that we need his life. Learn of me, for I am meek and lowly at heart. In doing this, you will find in your own experience, not just head knowledge, experience, the rest that Christ gives, the rest that comes with wearing his yoke and lifting his burdens. God has been greatly dishonored by his people leaning upon human beings. I say this to myself. He has not told us to do this. He has told us that he will teach us. Remember, even especially now in the last days, the scripture says they will learn of him. He will learn of the Lord. Yahweh, he will come and teach you, guide you to all truth, to him, he's been greatly dishonored by his people leaning upon human beings. He has not told us to do this. He has told us that he will teach us, he will guide us. Think how many of promises he has given us, which we may grasp by the hand of faith. He wants us to become acquainted with him. He wants us to speak to him. He wants us to know him, to tell him of our difficulties. He came and he died just so that you can actually know him. He said that you may know him, the everlasting God. And through him, only through that, through him, through his death, through his life, can we understand Yahweh, the Father. He that cannot come to the Father but through me. So he wants us to become acquainted with him, to speak to him, to tell him of our difficulties, to obtain an experience. This is becoming one with Christ, asking the one who never misjudges, and never makes a mistake. I hope you were here to the end of the video. This is very powerful, and I really wanted to share it with you, and that's why I did it in this format, so you may be able to read the actual words, and it's not just me preaching as if I know anything at all. Be blessed. Turn to Him. He will never let you down.